this up for myself because it's that important. Has anybody here ever had convenience outweigh what you know to be true? 2 weeks ago, I used a Keurig. I know, I had to confess though. I used a Keurig. What's a Keurig? Keurigs are these awesome, horrible, wonderful, evil machines that make an amazing cup of coffee. If you get the dark magic coffee from Costco, I think it is. It's a little pod, and you put it in the machine, and then it just makes your exact cup of coffee. Oh, my in-laws have one. And it was delicious. And then I didn't think for like 3 hours, and then I was like, oh crap, I used a Keurig. Oh, what will the hippies think of me when I return to Santa Cruz? Oh! And I don't necessarily believe that my one coffee pod is going to destroy the environment. But it's that same thing. How does one coffee pod, plus forgetting my bags at the grocery store, plus buying that one thing from China, plus, patronizing places that underpay their workers, just this time because it's convenient, and then the next time and the next time, adds up to a culture of convenience where I fail, to make the hard choices that could add up to real change. So they actually, if you're a Keurig fan, they make reusable ones that you can pack with your own coffee. So the change isn't that hard. It's just, it takes about 15 seconds less to go brew than it does to go brew. Wait, that was 7 seconds.
Well, you have to pull the coffee out of the drawer.
Yeah, but you gotta pull the thing out of the drawer too. You just keep the pod, the reusable pod, the coffee in the same drawer. Okay. So, but if it only took those 7 seconds, why don't we do it? I think it's because we lack the sense that we have to put it on the line, right? So it was only coincidence that this happened to be on Memorial Day, right? I just forgot, oh, wait a minute, it's Memorial Day, right? So Memorial Day is when we celebrate people who put everything on the line for their country, for their values, right? So it's not it's not Veterans Day, right, where we celebrate veterans, but it's people who actually died putting it on the line. And I wonder sometimes if we need a little more warrior spirit to combat the sense of learned helplessness that says, until there's major institutional change, I can't do that much to help the world. Because for me, when I think of, my fear this morning, I felt this deep fear that I was going to give this sermon on reusable Keurigs and pooping in buckets, and people are going to walk out and we're like, well, that's cool, but none of that actually makes a difference, bro. And that's the one thing that keeps it from making a difference. Okay. So, we can protest all we want. We can march in the streets. We can cast aspersions, is that the right? Cast aspersions on the other guy and this political party or the same political party or the other gal or whoever it is, all we want. And then if we go and make choices that aren't in complete congruence with our values, we're subtly undercutting the power of all of these other actions that we've taken. I imagine some of the most hardline American isolationists, or the most hardline free trade with foreign nations without any regulation, if you put them face to face with the child who is doing slave labor 12 hours a day and said, would you like to hire this child for no money a day and physical punishment to make your shirt? It'll only cost you $10 for this shirt. Or you can pay $20 for one that wasn't made from slave labor. I imagine they'd buy the $20 one, right? But it's so removed. We don't have to build up this warrior spirit that says, God darn it, I'm not going to buy non-organic food because I can't handle ripping the nutrients out of the earth and not replacing them anymore, right? We don't have this feeling. So, So I wanted to just play a little bit with our motivation. So this is a technique that comes from a motivational speaker, Tony Robbins.
I mean, Tony Robbins,
Right, he's like this tall and his voice is like this, and he's really made something out of his life, and he can show you how. But this is a really good method, okay? So, think about does anybody have something that they think they want to be doing more to help the world in some way, right? Or even, I hesitate to use the S word, but something you think you should be doing to help the world more. Can anybody think of one of those in their life, right? Like, I want to put the bucket back in my shower to catch the water while it's not hot. Right? And as the summer comes on, I'll probably even turn the shower off while I soap up, even though I like the hot water on me. But, you know, it's a cool thing to do. Right? So, here's the thing. It can be hard to get motivated for that. So please think of your one thing that you think might be really helpful to the world. It might be donating some of your time to coach Little League. That's pretty cool, but oh, do I have time this year? It might be getting on that Skype thing to educate kids in India who don't have any schools, but they have this TV that somebody installed in the middle of the street so the kids can watch it. How cool is that? Okay, everybody got one? Cool. So now, you're supposed to think, if you don't change, what will happen 6 months from now? You can use this for personal issues too, like if you're trying to change something in your communication with your relationship, you're supposed to think like, how will my relationship be if I keep doing what I'm doing for 6 months and don't change? So 6 months from now, oh, I didn't coach Little League, blah, 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 blah. All right, then you're supposed to think, what will the world be like in a year when I fail to get the motivation up and change? What will the world be like in 5 years? And then what will the world be like in 10 years, 30 years, 50 years, right? If these changes don't take place. And if you think about things that influence climate, for example, like that can get pretty darn scary. Right? If we just follow the weak little accords that America and China have been willing to agree to, it's a pretty darn scary world. Right? On the other hand, then you have to do the other side, okay? So if I make this change, what will my life and the world look like in 6 months? So think about if you coach the Little League, if you do the thing with kids in India, if you donate to train a dog, to have a prisoner train a dog to be a service dog for vets with PTSD. Oh, it's so cool, right? If I just start donating to that, how many vets with PTSD and adoption dogs and prisoners will have been helped in the next 6 months? That's pretty cool, right? How about in a year, if I make this, a monthly donation of $10 or something like that? In 5 years, in 10 years, what kind of reform might have happened in the prison system just from your puppy behind bars donations, right? In 30 years. So hopefully, when you do this, you will have a sense of the type of change that could take place just by our tiny little actions. For multifactorial, constantly evolving, wicked problems that face the world, it's not going to be one thing, one regime change that helps us to solve these problems. It's going to be thousands and thousands of tiny little actions. My hope is that as you visualize what the world might look like in 30 years, you can see yourself as ground zero for a revolution. Okay? I may be in danger of overusing the famous phrase from Margaret Mead, never doubt, what is it, that a small group of committed individuals can change the world, but indeed it is the only thing that ever has. So my call to you today is find just one thing that you know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, could help in some way. Oh yeah, peer pressure. And be that person who started going to Whole Foods Los Gatos, where the illusion of abundance let us take 2 plastic bags to wrap up our bulk items in. And you were the one who started the mason jar craze at the Whole Foods of Los Gatos. Right? You were the one who started calling all of your friends and donating together to puppies behind bars. The revolution started with you. The humanure composting revolution at the terraces down the street started with you. Okay, that's all I've got. If you would please stand and we'll sing this final hymn.